Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new episode of Theme Park Chat. This is the show where I discuss various theme park topics that are hot right now and share my personal thoughts as not an expert, but I've been around. I know a decent amount about theme parks, so I figured I'd share my thoughts. My name is Chris from the Thrill Seekers, and today we are going to be talking all about the hot new attraction of 2019. That's right, we're talking about Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. I've written it twice now. I wrote it on opening day, and then I wrote it again yesterday as of this recording, which was the 13th, Friday the 13th of 2019, December. So I'm going to split this up into two different kind of topics that are very important to a lot of you. First of all, I'm going to go in detail my thoughts on every single element of the full experience of Rise of the Resistance using some of the footage that I shot when I wrote it on the first day. So we'll go scene by scene. So if you do not want to know anything about Rise of the Resistance, probably shouldn't watch this video. Or at least skip till the end, because at the end is when we're going to talk about my suggestions for how to ride this ride. Because it's not an easy process right now. So there's a number of things you need to do in order to be set up to ride Rise of the Resistance currently. And so before we get started, if you haven't heard about it, Rise of the Resistance is the major e-ticket attraction that opened with Galaxy's Edge last week. It's a week old now. It's currently open at Disney's Hollywood Studios. It will be opening January 17th at Disneyland in Anaheim. And if you haven't heard all the reactions, let me tell you, as someone who's ridden the ride twice, it is the best ride I've ever been on, period. It is absolutely incredible. If you are a Star Wars fan, you'll be lucky to get out of that thing without crying how beautiful it is. It is the single most immersive ride and single most immersive experience you can have at a theme park currently. I know that's a lot, and that's big statement, but it's absolutely true. So if you're a theme park fan or you are a Star Wars fan, you need to ride this ride. It is absolutely incredible. Enough talk, let's talk about the ride itself. So, your experience begins outside the attraction walking through the queue. So the premise is the Resistance have set up a base on Batuu. You are recruits joining the Resistance, so you go through their base. It's set up inside a cave system within Batuu. You'll notice when you first start walking through the queue how there's a few scattered pieces of equipment here and there, but the deeper you go, the more equipment, more weapons, more pieces to the Resistance base you'll see. And I think that's very clever storytelling because, it makes sense. If you're the Resistance, you want to be hidden. So you want all your stuff to be very deep in the cave so that if the First Order go a-looking, they're not going to see anything unless they go really far in. And if they do, then they're probably going to get shot. Once you make it through the queue, you're going to go into your first briefing room. In that briefing room, you are going to see BB-8 in animatronic form, and let me tell you, it's a very impressive animatronic. I would put him up there with Rocket Raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout in terms of a pre-show animatronic that has a lot of movement. It looks really adorable. It works really well for the story. Then you get a transmission from Rey. She gives you your mission briefing, and that effect is awesome because it looks like a legit hologram. Probably similar to the effects used in Universal back when Disaster was a thing, and then kind of in Fast and Furious, the Emulsion, I think is what it's called, kind of a step up from Pepper's Ghost. But it doesn't look like that. It looks like a legit hologram, and it might actually be. We don't really know. Either way, it's super impressive looking, and it looks like a legit Star Wars hologram. Rey gives you your mission, which is basically you are going to be flying on a ship to a remote outpost with General Organa, and then you'll help the Resistance over there. So, after you are briefed and introduced to your pilots, which you have Commander Beck, who is a Mon Calamari, and then his co-pilot. You'll introduce to them, and then you go to the next area, which is outside. Now, this is one thing that's really cool about Rise of the Resistance, is usually when you go inside a ride building, you stay in that ride building until the experience is over. Not with this one. There are actually two different instances on this ride where you go outside and see a completely different thing than what you've seen before. that's just how immersive this experience is. It kind of throws out most theme park conventions when it comes to how the story is told and how a lot of things are presented, which I absolutely love, and that's part of what makes it so good. You go outside into what's essentially a lobby waiting area. When you go out there, you see Poe's X-Wing in all its glory, along with an animatronic BB-8 in the back. And then you see Poe's silhouette. You can't really see many details, but you see that it's a silhouette of someone wearing a helmet inside the cockpit of the X-Wing, so obviously it's got to be Poe. Then you walk over and you see the ship that you will be taking to General Organa's secret base. The ride technically begins because there are two different rides as part of this attraction. You enter the ship. It is a full recreation of a ship. I mean, it's a Star Wars ship. It looks exactly like the inside of a Star Wars ship would. There are no seats. This is a standing simulator, which is kind of interesting and not at all what you would be expecting for this type of ride, but hey, it's a standing simulator. And it's pretty cool. You actually want to walk around the simulator when you go in because you're going to see a lot of really cool stuff. The very back of the ship, you can see a window that leads out into space, so you can see the battle taking place behind you as well as what's going on in front of you. And of course in the front you see an animatronic of Beck and a number of screens that will show you what's going on around you as you take off. So your ship takes off into space, getting ready. Poe and his team of X-Wings are escorting you to where you need to make your jump to light speed. All of a sudden, the First Order show up, start attacking you. They shoot down a number of the X-Wings, and then you are captured, caught in a tractor beam, and beamed into a Star Destroyer. Of course, Beck warns you, hey, don't tell them anything about the secret base. The survival of the Resistance is at stake, so you gotta keep your mouth shut. And all of a sudden, you get ready, you're facing the opposite door, thinking you're gonna go out the other side from where you came in. Nope, look back at the same door you entered, and you are being surrounded by First Order officers, who are cast members, who tell you you need to depart your ship because the First Order has captured you and they are bringing you in for interrogation. You exit the ship. All of a sudden, you're in this gigantic Star Destroyer hangar. Words cannot really describe, and video cannot describe how big this room is. It's absolutely humongous. And the most impressive thing is this is a lobby. It's not even part of the ride. It's just, you get off a ride, you can walk around this area for a little bit, and then you move on to the next one. It's super impressive and definitely one of the most jaw-dropping experiences you can have on the ride. It's really impressive. Of course, when you go into that room, you're going to have to take a selfie with all the stormtroopers, which there's a whole squadron of animatronic stormtroopers. There's this giant window that shows out into space and shows you different ships flying by. And then, of course, there's a full-size TIE fighter on the wall and a replica of your prisoner transport, which is the vehicle you will be boarding to escape the Star Destroyer. So, after you've taken your pictures and stood there in awe of everything you're seeing around you, you move into a hallway where more First Order officers are patrolling. Eventually you're going to be led to a crossroads where a First Order officer will group you. Now, there are a couple details in this room that I think are really impressive. First of all, there is a warning sign, but it is disguised in such a way that it doesn't look like a traditional warning sign. It doesn't mention that the ride is called Rise of the Resistance. It doesn't say anything. All it says is this First Order Star Destroyer prisoner transports have some intense motion and gives you the typical warning information, but like it's disguised in such a way that's absolutely brilliant. I love that detail. The other thing, which again I think really adds to the immersion, is the First Order officers actually group you into what row you're going to be in on your prisoner transport, but you have no idea that's what they're doing. I mean, you kind of do, but it's not made abundantly obvious. So they put you on a specific color. There are 4 colors available. They're going to put you on blue, red, silver, or orange. And each of those colors correspond to a row in one of the 2 prisoner transport vehicles that you will see later on in the ride. And you're specifically told you need to remember what color you get. Again, I think that's really clever, and it's a way to super theme the normally mundane experience of grouping people to get on a ride. I think it's brilliant. Good job, Disney. So after you've been grouped, you are going to be led into the next room, next pre-show experience, which is going to be your interrogation cell. From there, you look up at a balcony, see a stormtrooper there patrolling. All of a sudden, General Huck shows up, starts telling you need to tell him where the secret base is or you will pay. Kylo Ren shows up, uses his force power, shuts down the lights. Before he is called out to the bridge, both of them leave, and you are left to rot in your cell. Until you hear a noise. You look over to the side and you see a hole is being cut in the side of your cell. A door opens. All of a sudden, you see the Resistance. They're there to rescue you, and they brought a couple prisoner transport vehicles that have been hijacked and are going to be used to get you back to Batuu safely. This is all done using a hidden door, which you cannot see in any way, shape, or form when you're inside the cell. You have no idea this is a hidden door. It is one of those moments that completely catches you off guard, and there are a number of moments like that. A number of them. Your first ride through, you are going to say, you're going to be shocked so many times. It's great. I love just watching people do it now that I've done it a few times. It's so awesome. So after that, you're going to board your prisoner transport vehicle. Each vehicle has 2 rows of 4, a front row and a back row. Honestly, it doesn't matter what row you are in. The only exception I will say, because I have done both the front and the back, if you are a taller person, it might be a good idea to request the front row just because the back row does not have a whole lot of legroom. I definitely had more legroom in the front, so it's a much more comfortable experience for taller people to sit in the front row. I don't know how accommodating first order officers are, so you can try to make your case for that. We'll see if they'll comply. So anyway, when you go in, you look on the ground, and each row of your prisoner transport has a corresponding color. So whatever color you were given before, that's the row you're going to be in. So you board your vehicle, store your stuff, buckle your seatbelt. The Resistance fighter gives you a very quick safety check, tells you to tug on that yellow strap, and then it's on to the mission. Finn gives you a basic idea of what you're doing, which is your vehicle is going to move around the Death Star, find a escape pod chute, and take you back to Batuu with help of R5, droid friend who is controlling the prisoner transport. As soon as that happens, there's a very, very quick safety spiel and you depart. First room, it's a giant room. You see 2 vehicles coming in that have no passengers. Now what's really clever about this, these vehicles are actually going back to be docked to be loaded. But in the meantime, since you have to see them, they're going to be used for a show scene. I thought this was absolutely brilliant. The fact that you're taking something that has to be done and you're using it in a way that enhances the show even further. So your R5 droid has to essentially tell the other prisoner transport vehicles, hey, these are prisoners, I'm moving them to another area, and then they go about their way. Very clever, very useful, very practical. I love it. Next, you go down a hallway, hoping to escape when you run into a probe droid. A massive animatronic probe droid comes down from the ceiling. You have to turn away, move into the next room where you see stormtroopers guarding 2 escape pod hatches. They start shooting at you. While they're shooting at you, you see blaster shots ricochet all over the Star Destroyer, causing holes, causing lots of damage. It's using projection mapping. It's really impressive. You really have to see it for yourself to appreciate all of it. Next, you go into what is probably the room that is going to shock everybody in terms of just the sheer scale, and that is the room where you see 2 full-size AT-AT walkers. And they are just as big as you think they are. Again, videos do not do this room justice. You have to see it for yourself. At that point, your 2 prisoner transport vehicles are going to go into 2 different spots. The one that I did the first time has you head-on facing one of the AT-AT walkers, and then you'll see Finn and a fellow Resistance fighter on the side shooting stormtroopers who are shooting back. The other one is off to the side, where you're not facing an AT-AT head-on, but you see stormtroopers shooting you, and then Finn is over to the side hiding behind some canisters. Both vehicles are taken up an elevator to the 2nd level, where they will go to the next scene. Once you reach the top of the elevator, if you're on the first side, you're going to be facing the guns of an AT-AT walker, where they're going to be activated and start shooting at you as you escape. Pretty terrifying and an awesome experience. If you're on the other side, it's not quite as cool, but you have a group of stormtroopers notice that you are escaping, so they pull out a Gatling gun and shoot you from the side of the AT-AT walker. So it's definitely more impressive from the first side, but the second side's pretty cool too. They're both good. They go around and enter the bridge where you see Kylo Ren and General Hux discussing what is going on. Ren asks them to raise the shields because the Resistance have arrived to break you out. They're all shooting the Star Destroyer at once. Then Kylo Ren notices that the prisoners are watching and that they have escaped. So he uses the Force, turns around, and decides to chase you. You're about to escape when all of a sudden you're backed into an elevator. Kylo Ren shows up. Doors close, you think you're good. No, you're not. All of a sudden you hear a loud noise. Kylo Ren's lightsaber comes through the roof of the elevator, and you see him cut a hole in the roof for him to enter. Doesn't quite make it in before you escape, but still, it is terrifying and is an incredible effect. One of the most impressive parts of this ride. It is absolutely chock full of really good effects. So once you have exited the elevator, you're going to enter a gun room where you see giant blaster cannons moving back and forth, shooting from the sides of the Star Destroyer. Again, the size of this room is what is incredibly impressive because these guns are massive and they're moving back and forth in the ride path area. So it's kind of a circle, not a circle, like a very chaotic balancing act between a vehicle moves forward, then a gun moves forward to shoot, then the vehicle moves forward. It's kind of like red light, green light a little bit. It's pretty awesome. And again, the scale is just incredible. You think you're about to get out of there when all of a sudden Kylo Ren shows up. Your vehicles are pulled towards Kylo Ren, where he threatens to destroy you and the Resistance. All of a sudden, a hole is gashed in the side right behind Kylo Ren. You feel the wind blowing in your face as Kylo Ren gets sucked backward, and a piece of the ship comes down, blocking him from view. From there, Finn warns you that you need to evacuate the ship immediately, so you and your vehicle hightail it over to the escape pods. That's when things get really interesting, because all of a sudden your trackless ride vehicle is attached to a different ride system, which is basically two different ride systems in one, so it becomes a triple-headed ride system beast. Vehicle attaches in to the escape pod. All of a sudden, you have a drop tower experience where the pod drops, physically drops. Again, videos can't really judge how this looks, so you kind of have to experience it for yourself, but it's kind of a mini Tower of Terror style drop. And then it becomes a mini Star Tours, where the pod shifts back and forth as it breaks away from the Star Destroyer and crash lands on Batuu inside this old wreck. Of course, a little off course. After you crash land, your vehicle detaches from the pod, turns around, and all of a sudden you are in the outside. It is an open air area. It is covered, thankfully, but you're in an open air destroyed ship. You see that Commander Beck has escaped as well in a destroyed craft. But you have all made it out of the Star Destroyer alive. Next, your vehicle turns, attaches to the exit, and you're able to disembark your prisoner transport. So that is a full-blown walkthrough of Rise of the Resistance. I don't think I missed anything major. That's a lot. And I'm sure you could tell a lot of that based on the videos that you may have seen, but I wanted to kind of walk through everything just so you notice all the little details. So all of that, incredible. All of that earth-shattering. There's a number of things here that have never been done on a ride, and I wanted to point those out. First of all, having a pre-show be a mini ride is very intriguing. It's basically kind of a mini Star Tours. Not quite as intense, obviously, because you're standing and there's no kind of restraint system whatsoever, but like, it moves. It takes you to a different destination from an outdoor venue. It has animatronics. It has tons of special effects. That experience alone could be marketed as a ride, but that's just one part of the whole greater experience. All of the pieces together are what make this so good. The ride portion itself, the trackless portion, is amazing, but without everything leading up to it, it's not the experience that it really is. So Disney did such a good job of combining so many different things to make this a one-of-a-kind, ultra-immersive experience. And we cannot thank them enough, because if this is the future of theme park attractions, I am so on board, it's not even funny. Okay, so we have walked through Rise of the Resistance. I have shown you pieces of the ride, shared my thoughts about it, and gave you some details you might not have known about the attraction. Now we're going to give you some tips on how to ride it. So there are a number of things that you need to know before you go. First of all, the Hollywood Studios' hours have been fluctuating a lot lately because the demand to ride this ride is ridiculously high. I would definitely say higher levels than Flight of Passage. Flight of Passage had pretty ridiculous lines and still has pretty ridiculous lines. But considering the boarding groups for this attraction are completely gone by like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, the demand for Rise of the Resistance is pretty darn high. So important things you need to do before you go to Hollywood Studios to attempt to ride this ride. First of all, you need to get there early. And I'm not talking a little early, I'm talking a lot early. If the park opens at 7, you need to be there by 5 because the boarding groups are done in a first come first served basis, and you can only book a boarding group once your park ticket has been scanned and you have been granted admission into the park. You cannot book a boarding group outside the park. You have to book it inside the park once your ticket has been scanned. So because of that, you need to get there early. I will tell you from experience, day one, not everybody knew how the system was going to work, so it was a little confusing. When I went the second time, it was over a week after the ride opened. Everyone kind of had an idea, and Disney was being very clear on how the system worked. So make sure you get there nice and early. When I rode this past time, I got there at 5 a.m., which is kind of the perfect time. I think the security area hadn't even opened yet. So there were very small lines outside the security gates, but it wasn't anything major. I think it was maybe 10 people back in my line, so 5 o'clock is a pretty good time to get there if you really want to get on Rise of Resistance at a reasonable hour. Next thing, you want to make sure all of your tickets for your entire party are on the My Disney Experience app. The app is an integral part of this system because they are utilizing a virtual queue. Now I know this is going to upset a lot of people who won't get to ride because the virtual queue spots are gone very, very quickly. And I understand that. But the virtual queue makes the experience so much better for those who are actually able to get time, because rather than standing in a line for 10 hours or however long your wait would be, you just book your time. You can go and experience the rest of the park. When your time is up, you go back to the attraction, go right in. Doesn't take you that long to get on the ride and enjoy it. So it's a pretty easy experience. They make it as easy as possible, and honestly, I hope they continue to use the boarding group system for other major attractions. Maybe Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway will use it early next year. I could definitely see Guardians of the Galaxy using it in 2021, probably Tron as well. So hopefully this is a system that Disney will continue to utilize outside of Galaxy's Edge, because I think it's been pretty great and it allows people to enjoy the rest of the park while still holding their spot for a brand new attraction. So I appreciate that. But the reason why you need everybody linked to My Disney Experience is because that is how you're going to book your boarding group. So make sure you have a My Disney Experience account set up. Make sure all tickets are linked to My Disney Experience. If you are going with a friend who also has My Disney Experience, make sure you two are friends and that you can control each other's profiles from your My Disney Experience app. So those are two very important elements. Get there super early. Make sure everything is set up on My Disney Experience for your tickets. The parks have been opening kind of early. When I rode the second time, the park opened at about 6:38. So about a half an hour before it was scheduled to open at 7, which is nice. I mean, you don't have to stand in line for too long. Once you're in the park, it can take between 3 to 5 minutes for My Disney Experience to update that you are in the park and give you the ability to book a boarding group. But once it does, on the very front page of the My Disney Experience app, it's going to give you the option for Galaxy's Edge to book a boarding group. Go there, make sure you select everybody in your group, and book your boarding group as soon as you possibly can. My suggestion, as soon as you walk in the I was about to say the Boston accent. As soon as you walk in the park, have your phone out, ready to go on that main page. Keep refreshing. As soon as it's available, book that boarding group. The earlier your boarding group, the earlier you will get to ride. Of course, for a lot of people, that's going to be an important element. Once you get your boarding group, you're going to want to pay attention using the My Disney Experience app as to what boarding groups they are calling. That's important because you do have a limited time frame once your boarding group is called to go back to Galaxy's Edge to board the attraction. I was boarding group 12 the second time I rode. By the time I got into the park, they started off calling boarding group 8, and just as I was about to turn the corner to head over to Toy Story Land to try to get a ride on Slinky, they were up to boarding group 10. So I very quickly reversed course, walked back to Galaxy's Edge. They called my boarding group at about 7:30-ish. No, not even that. It was like 6:50. So like almost before the park opened officially. So very, very quickly they called my boarding group. And as soon as your boarding group is called, you will get a notification from the My Disney Experience app saying your boarding group has been called. Please proceed to the front entrance of Rise of Resistance. From there, there's going to be a line of cast members who will have iPads. You scan your park ticket or Magic Band. They will verify that you are in that group and you enter the standby queue. Once you're in the standby queue, you have to wait a little bit. Because I was there so early and because there weren't that many boarding groups called before me, I was able to get through the standby queue in about 10-15 minutes. And that's one of the best things about the boarding group system is it does keep your wait times fairly low as long as the ride doesn't break down. So my suggestion would be, again, if you see your boarding group is coming up, I would head back there, wait a little bit. As soon as your boarding group is called, go right in. That way you don't have to worry about the ride breaking down or something going on that can cause a delay. Get in there, experience the attraction, enjoy it. Now, another important thing to note is you can only have one boarding group per day. If you try to book another one, it won't let you. So, Rise of Resistance at this point is a one and done type thing. You get to ride it once and that is it. So, savor it, enjoy it, take as many pictures or videos as you want, or don't, just enjoy the experience. So there you go. Those are my tips. As a recap, get there early. I would recommend getting there about 5 o'clock for a 7 o'clock park opening. Make sure all of your tickets are linked to the My Disney Experience app well in advance and everything is set up and ready to go. Once you are in the park, have your phone in hand and book that boarding group as soon as you possibly can. It can take 3 to 5 minutes for the app to update that you are in the park. Keep an eye out for when boarding groups are called. If it's getting close to your boarding group, I would say within 2 groups. So like I was group 12, if group 10 is called, I would head to Galaxy's Edge because your group will probably get called in the next 10-15 minutes. Wait until your group is called. You will get a notification on the My Disney Experience app when your group has been called, and when it is, have your park tickets out, scan them with the cast members, and you will be able to experience the best attraction in the world. And that is Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. So there you go, that is my theme park chat walkthrough of Rise of the Resistance, as well as tips on how to ride it currently. Obviously, these tips will not be relevant once they stop using the boarding group system, but I don't think that is going to change anytime soon because of how high the demand for this ride is. So, thank you for watching. I hope these tips help you, and I hope this walkthrough gave you some more insight as to what you're going to experience if you have not ridden Rise of Resistance. It's an incredible ride. I wish I could ride it every day. I would ride it multiple times if I could, but you can only ride it once, and I had to spend a lot to be able to ride it 2 times I did, so yeah, it's a pretty great experience. Definitely go check it out. You're definitely going to love it if you're a big Star Wars fan or just a theme park fan in general. So go check it out if you can. Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, open now at Disney's Hollywood Studios and coming January 17th to Disneyland in Anaheim. That's it. Thanks for watching this episode of Theme Park Chat, and I will see you next time. Bye.